Welcome, folks, to the Reason RX podcast with Michael and
Melanie
in Minnesota, Michael in Texas. So I hope y'all are doing well today. And today, in keeping with the general trend that we talk about a lot, we want to look at some movement stuff. Because remember, human life and is more holistic, and education should reflect that. I think there's too much. If we dig into things and look back, I think there's too much influence of Plato and some things like that on education, as if we're like, as if we're like rational rocks or like brains in a vat or computers or something, just like a little rational ghosts floating around. We're rational animals. That's what's being educated. So it's important to look at things holistically. And if we look at the way some of the thinking is and the consequences of it, some people think, okay, well, we got to get better grades. We got to get better test scores. So what are we going to do? More study time. And then some recess is taken away for elementary school kids, things like that. Our high school kids are all sleep deprived because they're, have all this work shoved on them, so much to do. And, okay, how's that working for us? If that works so much better, why aren't we like number one in the world and like all the kids are super educated? It doesn't work. Yes, to some extent, to some measure, more success comes from more studying, but we got to look at the big picture. Humans are not just simple linear things. We're complex, dynamic, complicated, non-linear feedback systems. So it's important to look holistically, to look at exercise, movement, sleep, diet, rest, playtime, social time. A lot of that works together. Just like if we learn a little bit in science, then we learn more about movement, and then we can move better and move more. That helps us have a better attitude, remember better, learn better, think better, get along with other people better. That helps science. That can help movement, and then it feeds back. And again, it's like a feedback system, but we got to look at the broader thing. It's not just those two, sleep, diet, and all this stuff. But we need to think about how that works and how we can institute that more in the schools. How parents can do that. Teachers can do that. People on their own, students, school administrators. If we work with these ideas, I think we could do better for the school system and better for the people we love, namely our children and our students. So we want to discuss some of that in the podcast. And we had some cute little noises there. I hope they come through in the podcast. Adds character. That's great. You'll only hear it here, folks.
What on earth? Yeah.
Okay, but anyway. So, because that stuff is like not the noises, okay, but what we were saying earlier, if you remember, listen again, rewind and forget. But we want to discuss some of that, and so we've had different guests on to discuss that, and it's come up a lot. But today we have another interesting guest. Knows about that, not only knows it but lives it. Theory and practice. It's like I've known some people in the past. They say, their theory is that we should practice theory. Theory and practice should be united, but they believe that only in theory. It's kind of funny. Theory and practice should be united, but only in my books and writing. But so we're going to talk to the great, the genius, the educated, the powerful superwoman, Jessica Groves-Chapman today. Because she knows about this some of this stuff. She lives it. So she'll be a very good guest to learn from. Melanie, do you have any other words before can we like delay this anymore before we have Jessica talk? Or
not too much. I do want to add one thing, if this hasn't been mentioned, but the confidence factor that all of that you just talked about builds in anybody, any age, any walk of life. I mean, there's just nothing like knowing you can move in your environment and be a part of it and not fearful of it. Like that you shouldn't go there, or try this, or that, for me personally, has been a really good change. So
really quick, go ahead, Melanie. What?
Just saying that I just want that to get stated too, so people see that also in a personal way. Like, it's great that for their health and stuff, and that's also personal, but that sort of sense of like, I've got this. This is, I'm capable. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and we'll ask her, Jessica, of course, how she's noticed that in her life and people she works with too. If she's seen. So
Jessica, really quickly, like, I've known Melanie for over a year and tutor her kids in science, and then I've helped her and her kids a little bit with movement. So with what she's saying about being confident in the world, I'm not like, it's not all me, not total credit, but I've like had a little influence on teaching them some MoveNet. So it's cool with modern technology. I can like go out in the woods, use my cell phone, get some video, and then do it private on YouTube so only they can see it. And then they've got this video that they can watch for the rest of their lives, instructional stuff.
Yeah.
So that's been cool.
And one really cool thing, I think I told you this, Michael, but this winter, we had ice, snow. The driveway was just slick, glare ice, and we were going to walk up this kind of large hill to the library. The kids and I do that a lot, even in the winter. And I didn't see the ice or anticipate it. But rather than falling, I went into a squat. And that was the thing that, I know it sounds weird, but instead of doing this, I just went down with it. And I just was like, I credited, Michael with that, because he's kind of gotten us started with kind of a movement thing here. And it's been applicable and probably saved me a broken wrist or who knows what.
Sweet.
Thanks.
What? Sweet. That's good.
Let's get Jessica on now that I've talked for
All right. So, Jessica, will you tell us about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me on, first of all. And as for those little noises, you have to leave your cell phone silent. Sorry about that.
Oh.
My background, I was an active kid. I climbed trees. I played outside the minute I got home from school. Rode my bike without a helmet around the neighborhood. You name it, I did it. I know. So I grew up dabbling in sports, but it really wasn't my thing. I was into music. I sang in chorus my whole upbringing. And in high school, some friends asked me to play soccer. So I played soccer for 4 years in high school. And then in my 20s, I got a gym membership because that's what people do. And I got into running after I met Marvin and ran a couple of races, really liked it. And throughout my graduate school career, did a couple of races, a couple of half marathons, and really just loved running. School-wise, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology from Wesleyan College in Macon, Georgia. I have a master's degree in kinesiology. I specialize in exercise psychology, not sports psychology, exercise psychology, and a PhD in the behavior of neuroscience of behavior, specializing in exercise effects on the brain. So all of my education is very intermingled. And right out of grad school, I got that coveted academic position. I got a tenure track position at Center College in Kentucky. And we moved. I was pregnant with my second child. My first child was almost 2, and the 3 of us moved out to Kentucky, and I was there for a year. But after having my second child, I had, we'll call it a life reinvention. I determined that academia wasn't as family friendly as they say, and I hated the classroom. I love teaching, but standing in front of a group of people and talking every day in and out was just taxing. I wasn't moving. I wasn't running.
No sunlight.
It was bad. And I just needed out. And so, We looked everywhere for jobs. I left academia to be stay at home with my kids. Marvin had been stay at home up to that point.
Cool.
And so we kind of switched places, and he got a job offer out here in Athens. But when we moved here, it fell through. So we had a family of 4, 2 highly educated adults, and no jobs.
That was nice of them.
Yeah, it was totally great.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of like from the get-go, where I am. I've always been active. I like to say I'm not an athlete because I don't really consider myself to be, but I've always been active. I've always enjoyed being outdoors. It's just part of who I am.
Yeah, I think it's more part of human nature. We're just like conditioned or whatever to not do it because of the way houses are set up and society and stuff. Like Katie Bowman has a lot of good things about that. And she calls it like casting, on the metaphor of having like a broken arm in a cast. And so she takes that and makes that concept more like broader than just a cast on your arm, but like casting your whole life. Excuse me, like lifestyle, thinking, movement in general. So people ought to look into her on her website and all that. That's like some good stuff too. Read her books. But cool. So your PhD was in what? Neurology?
Neuroscience.
What's the difference?
The difference being that the brain surgeries I did in grad school were on rats, not humans.
Okay. So neurology is for, you say earlier, like for MDs?
Neurology is more the study of the brain, typically in regards to medicine.
Okay. What do you study in neuroscience?
In neuroscience, you're basically studying the functions of the nervous system. So that can be the peripheral, central nervous system. Typically, research is going to be more focused. So a lot of my research was focused on a specific neuropeptide called galanin. And a lot of my research used an addiction model of learning to determine if exercise or access to physical activity could be protective against addiction. That's a whole nother story.
What was the name of your PhD thesis? The title?
I don't even remember.
Too long. Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's funny.
It was 5 years ago. I mean, I have a copy of it upstairs in my attic.
Yeah.
Those are quite a few credentials, Jessica, for being as young as you are. That's amazing. You must have been just really working hard to get that all accomplished in a short time.
I'm actually older than I could have been to graduate. I took some time off for undergrad. So
okay.
I appreciate the compliment, but I think, it just comes down to, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so I would kind of take the next trajectory to try and figure that out. And a lot of my education, my certifications have been kind of just the next thing in front of me to explore and trying to find myself in a lot of ways.
Okay.
That's your life's journey.
Yes.
But do you get carded in the grocery store when you don't buy alcohol anymore, so never mind, I guess, whatever. Otherwise, you probably get carded. Are you old enough? You don't look it. Where's your mom?
Yeah, you look very young. You do.
Thank you.
So do you, I don't know if you had another question, Michael, I was going to ask one about Kurt.
Just wanted to make sure we got our background fleshed out a little bit so people know. And so we got the neuroscience, the kinesiology. And what is kinesiology?
So kinesiology was what the University of Georgia renamed their exercise science program. So kinesiology basically means the study of movement, but it's really an exercise science program.
Okay. All right. And then, so we got that down for folks and some of your movement background, a lot of running and soccer, and then a lot of like vocal work. And moving your vocal cords.
Do you still sing? I have to ask. I'm a music teacher as well. So
it's funny.
Let's get it going. Whoa.
I got a
Miano.
scholarship.
Like,
a voice scholarship. No, I'm not singing.
Oh, Melanie could play the piano and you could sing and I could watch.
Yeah, no. I got a voice scholarship right out of college, and I recently had that tape transferred onto digital media, and I was listening to it, and I was like, no. 18-year-old Jessica had a set of pipes, but it's a muscle if you don't exercise it.
Yeah.
So I sing for my kids. I can sing to all of the Disney movies with them, but I don't sing for any other reason.
Or any other audience. Yeah.
With the kids.
Cool, funny. But and then, what else have you done besides running?
So running was predominantly it. Lots of road running, and I trained for my first, and ran my first and only marathon in 2016, the Kiowa Island Marathon in South Carolina. And when I got
for a
up
second
to
there, I thought you were going to say Hawaii. So I'm like,
no, South Carolina.
Hawaii. Oh, South Carolina.
Yeah. So when I hit 19 miles, I went to a yoga class, got a leg strain, and ended up having to finish that marathon with an injury. And it was tough, and I was very burnt out on running after that, and very kind of upset about my body, about feeling failed, all those things. And that was when Marvin suggested that I take a mom break, because I had not been away from my kids since my son had been born. And he sent me to a MoveNet workshop in North Carolina, and I fell in love with MoveNet and natural movement. It's like the perfect blend of me being active and me loving to teach. It's like they're perfect together. So I really enjoy it.
Right.
Cool. And did you just do that workshop or?
No, I did the workshop in March. Danny taught that workshop. And while after the first day I was hooked, I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. My body can, I didn't know that Marvin had been incorporating it into our training. So I was really good at a lot of it, and I didn't realize it. And then I met some awesome people, and Danny was like, hey, Abby is teaching a women's certification in New Mexico in May. And I called my husband that night. Remember, this is the first time I'm away from my kids. And I'm like, so in May, I'm going to go away for 6 days.
Cool.
And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm going to go to New Mexico. And I did. In May, I got my level 1.
Congrats.
At the women's certification. With Kristen, Abby, were the instructors, and then I kind of shelved it. I didn't think I'd be able to train for level 2. Being
I
a mom
understand
and
that.
having
It's
a business.
I was similar too.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not a mom, of course, clearly, but
and I own a business, so I was like,
Yeah, I didn't think, since I was autistic or something, very uncoordinated. Spent 20 years being sleep deprived. Just from my background, I didn't think I'd be able to do it. But I was just like you, I was glad and proud and all that I was able to accomplish that.
Yeah, so
Surprise
the level
me.
2 was an accident. I actually won that certification.
Sweet.
I completed the survey.
Nice.
And I won it, and I was like, well, I guess I have to do it.
It's destiny. It's
You're gonna
fate.
give it to me. So I did that last year. I completed it last year, and I really enjoyed it. And it was very challenging. And I'm not that old, so I guess level 3 is a possibility one day.
Yes. Go for it.
Haven't tossed it completely out. Maybe
Good.
not in the near future, but
I think
we'll
you
see.
can do it. You can do it. I'd like to see that. That'd be nice. But and then I think we've got something in common besides level 2.
What's that?
We had the same certifier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I went up to Dallas. Work with Eric. He's great.
Oh God, he is amazing. As a matter of fact, I enjoyed him so much because of the extra teaching he does, the extra little tips and tricks, and I really enjoyed that. He was an excellent teacher.
And one thing, it's even sometimes without saying some stuff, when we were doing roles, he didn't even say it, but one thing, watching him do a role, something just clicked in my mind. Like,
yeah,
that's how you do it. It's like he'd, because I think of the hands too much before, and I mean I could do it right and it'd look good and stuff, but I had too much some of the basics in my head, and so I think about, okay, starting with someone, we want to get down, maybe put the hand on the ground, and use that to guide you and roll onto your shoulder, and so I'm thinking too much upper body, and I saw him do it one time, and it's like, whoa, that's how you do it, because like he'd bend his knees more, he'd land, bend his knees, so you lower yourself to the ground, and then whoosh, you can like roll, and it was like instant like epiphany.
Yeah.
That was like so cool. But yeah, he's a nice guy. He's funny. I don't know how it was with your class, but we were, and I was like really, being serious and answering his questions really well and all that. But I was like, just kind of being me. I was like screwing around a lot too. Joking, screwing around, but I think he knew since I knew my stuff to some degree, and I could answer some questions, I guess, really well. He knew it wasn't off task or disrespectful or insulting or anything like that. It wasn't just like shut up. But so that was fun. But yeah, good group of people up there. So kind of same experiences you've had, good instructors, nice, well-informed, learn a lot from them, very good movers. They know theory and practice. Good. You're working always with a good group of people.
Yeah.
So, but
you're an entrepreneur then, I would say, since you have your own business, right, Jessica?
Yes.
Husband?
Yeah.
Did that kind of come together easily, or did you feel like that wasn't something you ever saw yourself kind of going toward? Or?
It's definitely never something I saw myself going toward. And it kind of came about more, Marvin is excellent at his hands-on job. He's really good at working with people, and he had no business education or background, and neither do I, but it was kind of like, okay, let's reconfigure how to put you out there, not as a person. Why don't we get a brand? Why don't we get a logo? Why don't I just take on the business side of things? I mean, I have a PhD in neuroscience. Like, it's people. Like, marketing's got to be similar. As a matter of fact, it is. There's a lot of psychology in marketing. And so, I just kind of like started constructing the business components together. And we're really lucky here in Athens. We have the University of Georgia has a small business development center that's free. And you can get a business consultant. And so I've heard about that, and I immediately got a consultant and started getting, some feedback, advice, took a class. And it's just kind of, built it from the ground up from there.
Cool.
And now business is opening soon, you said?
Yeah, so we've been in business for 3 years, but working out of other people's spaces.
Oh, okay.
Kind of paying rent within other businesses. And so now we're actually launching into our own business, our own home space.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, great. Wow. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's got to be good.
It does. It feels amazing, terrifying, good, all the things.
Yeah. For sure.
Is it going to be like still kind of in the city, or do you have something close to a park or some forest or something?
It's considered within the city, within Athens, Clark County, and it's in a warehouse district. It's not easily accessible necessarily to parks, but everything is within 15 minutes of Athens, and there are so many green spaces and parks here. So I hope to utilize a lot of those once we launch for workshops and stuff like that.
Good.
But the space itself is indoors.
Cool. And then we'll link to that, folks, if you want to contact them for some fitness instruction or do something while you're there in town, or if you live there. You'll be able to get in touch with Jessica and Marvin. Cool. And hopefully, in the future, like Marvin can join us on a podcast. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So, now, one thing I was wondering about too, we talked about neurology versus neuroscience. And so why would you say your a movement instructor and not a fitness instructor? Huh?
So I would say that predominantly because of how fitness is defined within the fitness industry, and fitness is typically defined as how we look, how strong we are at certain movements. So bench press, squats, whatever, how many burpees can you do? And so what we do is we don't train based on the typical idea of exercise and fitness. We train based on how our bodies move, how we're supposed to move. If you can't get yourself off the floor without using your hands, I don't care how much you can bench press or squat. I don't care. Like you might as well be 85 years old and giving up on life. And I know 85-year-olds that can get off the ground without using their hands. So
they're your clients.
Exactly. So, I think I like to use the term movement specialist, and I think that term is getting, it's getting kind of some flack out there because a lot of people want to take that on. But if you can't move your own body, I don't necessarily want to call you a movement specialist. We're not isolationists. We see the whole body, and that includes, your emotional well-being, your cognitive, what you bring cognitively to it, all the stress that goes on in your life comes into every session with us. So we take into account everything. Your fear of your past injury that may not be causing you physical impairment right now, but you feel that pain because of that fear, then that's real, and we take that into account. So that's kind of why we delineate between fitness instructor and a movement specialist.
Cool, yeah. So that's what we mean. Point out, make sure people get it, by holistic fitness, movement stuff should be more holistic because it is, and education should be more holistic. And if people aren't as aware of it, if you look up epigenetics, I think some of it's been kind of known for a while, but it's become a field on its own just more recently. But some people think about stress and they think about it as just being emotional. So it's just some kind of airy, fairy, ethereal thing that's non-material. Well, that's not the way an animal works. We're rational animals, and some of that stuff is biochemical and physical consequences, and that's shown in epigenetics. For example, in one study on mice, I think it was, some researchers had a kind of cherry or almond odor in the cage and then shocked the mice. And then even the grandkids had a fear response to the odor. And then it's all over the animal world because people have even done some experiments on guppies. They're the lowly guppy, they're stupid. But they show epigenetic effects too. Epigenetic effects on people in, the Dutch hunger winter, where a city was surrounded by the Nazis in war, I think it was, and so the people couldn't eat very well. And then there's effects on the children for a generation or two or three later. It's epigenetics. And then Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, don't remember the name of her book right now. I'll post it in the show notes, but she's done some really good work on how childhood traumas affect children and adults. Or even Janet Oliver, neurodevelopment specialist we hit on the other day, talked about how just merely what happens at birth can affect your behavior as an adult. So if the Moro, M-O-R-O reflex doesn't occur, then even when you're in your 30s or 50s, you can seem to be overreactive about some things. And some people can think, oh, you're overreacting, you're just being stupid, and think it's psychological, but it's not. It's something beyond your control from when you were born, just because of the way humans develop and the way neurology works and everything, neurodevelopment. So, that neurodevelopment, epigenetics, when we dig into things like that, then it really gives us more stuff to hold on to in our hands, more of a grasp, meaty material grasp of the reality of this holistic idea. It's not just, oh, holistic alternative medicine, airy-fairy stuff. It's not real science. Wrong. I think, modern medicine is great for traumatic injuries and acute injuries, but we got to realize they're not omniscient. We still have a lot to learn. And I think that's like, when that's used in chronic injuries or a lot of other things, I think that should be called the alternative. That's alternative medicine. In the kind of disdainful way that people use that term, unfortunately. But, so we got to look at the holistic aspect of this, going back to what Jessica was saying earlier. So.
You mentioned, Jessica, that some people come to you, or you've noticed that people have a fear of movement. Like there's something, maybe an old injury or something that it's keeping them back. It's holding them back a bit. And I was just wondering, how do you approach that? Do you work on them sort of in a psychological way, kind of saying, let's talk about this. Let's get you past that fear so you can move into this and do this? Or do you have them move into it, even though they're still fearful? I mean, maybe you do both. I guess I'm not sure. But how do you approach that? Because that would be I could imagine, a common thing for people.
So I always like to go back to a quote that I heard Julie Angel say. I don't know if you know Julie Angel. She has a PhD in parkour. You should look her up. She's really awesome. But she said once, when we were talking about getting into parkour and facing fear of stuff, movement is emotion. And you have to move with that in mind. There's always emotion behind that. And we all carry our own traumas. It could be as simple as falling and scraping your knee when you were 8. It could be I was in a tragic or a really horrific car crash when I was 20. Like whatever your trauma is, that's your trauma. And you carry it with you for the rest of your life. And the only way you're going to be able to get past that is to move through it. And so, when we have a lot of these clients, what ends up happening, and it kind of depends on the client. Sometimes it's basically we regress the movement. So I can't get you to bend over to touch your toes because that hinge pattern, simply bending over, that elicits a strong fear reaction. You're like, nope, I'm going to pull my back. But if I get you on the ground, I can get you to do a hinge from knees going up, which is, it's just a reverse, it's a reverse pattern of that. You're still doing a hinge. You can do it. And we can practice that until your brain's like, okay, I can do this safely here. And then we just slowly move you back up to a standing position. And yes, the other version of that is I coach. So coaching it's a little bit more than just training. So it's going to involve talking through things and basically acknowledging. I acknowledge a lot of the fear. Like, I understand that you're scared about this. We're in a safe environment. Trust me when I say your body is capable of doing this. There's a big difference between they're not capable of doing this and they're afraid of doing this. And my background, I see it a lot. If a person decides to full stop, I embrace that. That's their stop right then, and that's fine. But just giving someone, safe, comforting environment to be able to experience those emotions and to say, hey, it's okay if you want to cry for a few minutes to get through this. And then what you normally see is, just like being a little kid, like you cry for a few minutes, you get up and you do it again and you keep trying. I have a client right now, and she was recently diagnosed with Parkinson's, and she is one of the strongest, most resilient humans I've ever met. And she works through that emotion and acceptance daily. And I have seen her push herself through things that I haven't seen any other client do. So, we are only as capable as we allow ourselves to be.
Yeah, we're pretty resilient. We wouldn't have survived and evolved to this point if we were weak little snowflakes. Yeah, and it's in us all. It's like, it's not just the big Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's that way. It's everybody. Like some people who are supposedly, like, a lot of people by convention might think, well, like the 250-pound male buff is like stronger, but one thing I listened to, this book by Larkin, I think listening to the book on Audible, maybe in some of his podcasts, but he talks about how some career criminals, when they're being asked about who they'd attack and what kind of target they'd go after, sometimes it's not the 125-pound like woman who some people might think. It's the 250-pound guy who's big because she's freaking paying attention and alert, and she looks like she's going to like scratch her eyes out, and he's like in his own world, not paying attention. He's an easy target, you know? So yeah, it's like, or like Bruce Lee, you know, 5'6", 120 pounds. You know, there's a lot inside, or like a lot of the Navy SEALs. They're not all like big, strong, weightlifting, 250 pounds, 6'10" guys, you know? They can be like, I think most of them are like 5'9", 5'8". It's like, there's that something inside.
You know, Michael teaches my 3 kids science via Skype, and he's brought a few videos forward for us the kids and I to watch. And there's been a couple of TED Talks of like, one's a woman who realized that if she had listened to her doctor, she probably would have just become more and more crippled. But instead, she did some research. She kept moving and eating better. And so diet was a huge thing. So she's amazing. But one that stood out, and maybe, I don't know if I can't remember his name, Michael, but wasn't he a gentleman who got hurt while he was serving in some Gulf War or something? But he came back and the doctors basically said, you'll never probably walk again. And he got very heavy and ate a lot. And then all of a sudden, just, no, this isn't. And so, you know, those inspirational stories, they take us past just being human, and they put us almost into superhuman category. And you were saying that this woman really, you said she's one of the strongest, just get up and keep going kind of people. Mm-hmm. That's great to see that. And it must be fulfilling in your line of work to see that and make that much of a difference in someone's.
Yeah, it's like,
I really like to see it, but at the same time, I think sometimes I don't take credit for that. You know, I'm just there there showing you the way, and then you can choose to take the path or not, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, some things you can't.
Nice to have something there to help, you know? Yeah. It'd be tough to do it on your own. It'd be tough to do it on your own. You need somebody to cheer a little for you at times. For sure.
Yeah, some things you can't put into a person. It's got to be there by their own choice and effort and all that, but you can help. And that's like one of the things, I think, Melanie, I might have been thinking about the diet stuff. Dr. Terry Walls.
Yeah, I forgot her name.
Oh, yeah, I'll link to her. Then I forgot this one guy's name, but he had the dystopia, I think, whatever it's called. I'll link to that. But one thing you were thinking of, I think, was just a YouTube video. I don't remember the guy's name right now. I can see his picture and see some of the frames of it, but he was a Army Ranger, got injured from some too many parachuting jumps. Then he was hurt. And it's kind of like you're saying, it's like, he was a freaking Army Ranger. It's in him, but he got overweight. He gave up. Got all depressed. And then he tried to, like, one day he's trying to find someone who's going to help him out. So he's going to different gyms. All these gyms turn him away. And he goes to some guy who teaches yoga. And the guy took him on as a client. And he believed in him. And then, he went from having to use crutches and barely be able to do anything to be able to do like a headstand against the wall, and he thought he'd never run again, but he's able to run now.
Yeah, we'll link to that. It's very big and it's amazing.
Yeah.
You can't help but feel it right here. It's just something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like his video's got millions of views. Yeah, deservedly. Yeah. But it's like, don't give up or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah. But, it's hard to tell the story. I had to, keep stopping and pausing and trying to control myself.
It's amazing.
So I don't got to, put the headphones down and walk away and let y'all continue while I deal with my emotions. But, good stuff.
I was going to ask you, Jessica, as busy as you must be, how do you find balance, with everything, the kids and your relationship and life, just general?
I'm probably the last person on earth to ask that question to. I think, I'll say this. So I like to describe balance as far as movement goes. We think of balance, or balance is described a lot of times as stillness. So like we're holding the pendulum still. And in reality, balance is simply, it's dynamic. So it's going to sway. And
Right.
there are going to be times when, I'm nailing it as a mom. And there are times that I'm nailing it as a business owner. And there are times that I'm kind of mediocre at both, because I'm mediocre at both. And things get out of whack. And I've definitely had times when things got really out of whack in one area or the other, just kind of off balance. So I think, reminding yourself day to day, checking in on the things, here's some things that I could have done better today. And hey, I'll write them down and I'll remind myself, and I'll, work more on that next time. Or here are the things that I actually did today. The one trick that I did do was I got rid of my to-do lists. I really like to-do lists, and they would be about, 20 to 5 billion things long. And so I did, and I forget who the guy is that came up with it, but it's basically having 3 points, 3 things that you want to get done, that you need to get done, and putting those on a list. And, anything you get done in between, because you'll eat, you'll probably do some household chores. If you have kids, you will feed them, you'll take care of them. You'll do other stuff.
Or if you have a dog, you'll feed it.
I do. You hear him?
Yeah, he's cute. Sorry.
He's not cute. He's a puppy who's angry. But if you put the 3 things on there, it gives you a chance to have a success. Like, hey, there's the 3 things that I wanted to do or that I needed to do. And then things get done, There's always going to be leftover for tomorrow. But being okay with what you get done today.
Exactly. Part of that, I think, is your mental state. Like, I can only get so much done, but the list is there tomorrow. That's, totally understand.
And I'll follow up with one last tip, and this is for anybody, parent or not, is learning to ask for help. I was terrible at this after my first kid. I didn't have a real community. I was in grad school, so having a baby was just bizarre. Like, why are you having a kid? You're in school. And I just didn't have a support system. And now I have an amazing support system. And so I think really, having a community you can rely on, but knowing when to ask for help and say, hey, I need help with this.
Cool. Yeah.
And delegating.
Delegating.
Just giving out.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Somebody else do this. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I like the idea of just having 3 things.
Yeah.
I've never really been a big fan of to-do lists. I mean, I'll make some stuff up. I mean, I still do. This is what I want to try to do today and write a bunch of stuff down. But I don't do it in a weird way, like get all stressed up about it or deny reality about it. Because, one thing I've seen is reality comes up. It's like, it didn't care about my to-do list or what I want. It's like sometimes there's 3 things I want to get done, but you know what? Something else happens. It's a lot more important, and I need to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of looking at the bigger picture, seeing how the world works, what the world's like, and kind of what the status of these to-do lists really is. It's like kind of more secondary. You gotta. Even if you do have a to-do list or you want to schedule your day, you still got to schedule in wiggle time for stuff that can come up.
Mm-hmm.
Something takes a little longer, something takes a little less time. Someone gets sick and you got to help them out, or you're driving along and there's someone on the side of the road, or like sometimes, I want to go somewhere and well, crap, there's like a dead animal on the road and there's vultures and I don't want the vultures to get hurt. And, because I love nature and I don't want anybody to get hurt either, but people generally won't. And I want their car to get hurt, but more I don't want these vultures to get hurt. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to move that animal to the side of the road so the vultures can have something to eat. And that takes some time, but oh well.
Yeah, I can.
Things like that. Or, you got to schedule it because what? You're super busy and you're like multitasking and you're doing these two things. And okay, you're cooking dinner and you're doing something. Well, you know what? Sometimes you lose track of it and then you burn what you were cooking. So you better schedule time to
Kind of start over. There's a book called Getting Things Done. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. It's a real small book, a real easy read, quick read. But one of the topics of his book was just learn how to say no. Sometimes, because you get asked, will you be on this or do this? And, and you just, so that's also, I think, a way of making sure we're not overstretched. And
Yeah. You can say yes too much and then not really be able to do anything or take care of yourself or take care of your kids.
So, Jessica, having 2 kids, how old are they, did you say?
My daughter is 4, my son is 6.
Do you do a lot with them already just to kind of make sure they're getting a good way of exercising even at their young age? And how do you do that?
We get out a lot. We play a lot. They're both, my son and daughter are both very physically active kids. My son started moving in utero and has yet to stop. He is never a napper. He gets like 10 solid hours out of a 24-hour period. He's done that since birth.
Okay.
So it's like, you're going to be moving. And he climbed early. He was very strong. So my daughter recently accomplished the monkey bars just the other day. So yeah, they're both very active. They love to run and play. And so a lot of how we developed and got into natural movement was actually watching their motor development. We both happened to take a couple of neuroscience courses during our master's program, or during my PhD and his master's. And, we got into that. And then once we had kids, it was like, hey, look, it's like the book come to life. Here's development. Yep. And then it was like, when do we lose this? And we lose it, obviously, because we just stopped doing it. I have people tell me, oh, I can't do that. And I'm like, well, can't is a choice, like you choose not to do that. So yeah, we choose to take them out and play with them a lot. That's not to say that my kids don't watch a show when I'm cooking dinner sometimes, but it is to say that when I go to the playground, I engage with them. I don't always, as they get older, they want to engage with me less and less, but while they're little, I'm still out there playing with them, pushing them on the swings. Me and my son play hot lava together. Just making sure that I get the opportunity to move with them.
What's
We're all just big kids in grown-up bodies.
Yeah, exactly. What is hot lava? I don't know if I know this.
Hot lava is being on the playground and you can't touch the ground. So you have to figure out how to maneuver over the structure without touching the ground.
Otherwise you get burnt. You don't know that? Of course. Everybody knows that. I did that. Don't get burnt by the lava. You're going to die.
That's right.
That must be a Southern thing. I'm a Midwestern.
I jumped and I missed the rock. I'm being burnt by lava. Ah!
Ours is called freezing ice or something.
Yes.
Slippery ice.
Well,
that's pretty
not
neat.
if you're that far up north, man. Melanie's so far up north. She's like, they got polar bears around there next door.
We get snowstorms in a
ice
12
glass.
inches.
Wow.
But 4 distinct seasons, though. You really do get like the Hallmark card with the 4 seasons on the cover. It's really clear here what season you're in, and there's no distance.
Yeah. But then, so Jessica, when you and I have a farmer's market all year round, but Melanie has a farmer's market.
I know. I'm like, a Christmas tree? I don't come to the farmer's market for just a Christmas tree. I want some veggies and the produce, all of this stuff, fruits. And then Michael, of course, rubs it in.
Look at the berries I got.
Posting pictures of that. So I have to ask you this question, though, too. With your 2 kids, and you kind of know probably some limitations for even yourself, I'm sure. But how do you set them for kids, or do you not? Are you of the philosophy just they'll learn? If they get hurt, they'll learn. What do you do for that?
We have a couple of rules. So when my son first started to climb, I was not yet MoveNat and climbing. I have a fear of heights, and I didn't believe in my capability to climb after him, so he'd get stuck. And that only happened like once or twice before I was like, all right, one, I'm working on my climbing skills. And two, we're working on a rule of know your limits. And so, with my kids, it's if you climb up, know that you can climb down. If you get to this point, know whether or not you can jump. And there have been times that I've had to, specifically with my son, say, okay, that's like 2 times your height, not on a surface that's going to necessarily absorb that. Let's rethink jumping from there. He's really physically adept. So it's kind of been a learning game between him and us. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest risk we as parents run is being too cautious. And when we're too cautious, that's when you see kids who start to be fearful. The minute they become fearful is the minute you've got chronic broken bones. My son has never, knock on wood, never broken a bone. The one time he got stitches, it was from tripping over his own feet inside of our house, like hitting our couch. My daughter cracked her bone, but she cracked it falling backwards trying to climb into her high chair. Like it wasn't even, they do intense physical stuff all the time, things that I'm like, oh my gosh, inside having anxiety, but outwardly we just need to encourage, and I do ask them questions, do you know your limit right now? And if they get uncomfortable, I say, okay, well, this is your limit. Let's come back down, and we'll talk through things. I try not to say, no, don't do that. I ask them, I remind them to pay attention to their surroundings. Really they're kids. Yeah. They don't have a prefrontal cortex. So they're going to barge through the little kids, they're going to jump down when there's a person there. So, I remind them those things, but for the most part, I do let them explore freely.
Okay. Wow. It sounds like your kids are going to be super well adjusted because you're dealing with them. You know what I mean? In their mind, you're not just ordering them around like get down and that's too high. You're going to fall. Yeah. That's amazing. That's great. I love hearing that.
Yeah. A couple of things there. Like it's interesting that they hurt themselves inside. And I wonder one factor might be that when you're inside, you're aware it's comfortable, and that's where you let down your guard. And so then you're more likely to be injured. Whereas when you're outside, you're moving around, you're more active, you're moving, you're more aware and more alert. Mm-hmm. You don't have your guard down, so you're less likely to get hurt.
I like that. I like that concept. I mean, that's very true. We definitely have a greater awareness when we're outside and in environments that we know we can't control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think to some extent that might be similar with, from what I've heard, people get into more accidents near home than far away. Mm-hmm. So you're driving more near home, but you're also letting down your guard, probably.
For sure.
I wonder. But
it's supposed to be like within 7 miles from your door, there are more accidents. Well, and also you don't oftentimes go farther than that. You've sort of situated yourself too in an area where you're going to find everything's pretty close. So that statistic could be a little skewed, just the way it looks. But that's true. You're very comfortable. The light's coming up. You know where to turn. Where if you're in a stranger area, you're really looking, paying attention. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd have to look at percentages and analyze it more scientifically. I don't know if it already had been from what I heard. That was a long time ago. But I don't know. Interesting. But and then, so Jessica, you say when your kids are out playing, you're out playing with them also. So that's part of your training and exercise for the day.
I mean, I don't know that I'd call it training. I just call it living. I'm just out there with them when I can be. When we're at home, not as much, but when we go out to parks, I'm definitely out there with them, trying to be as involved as possible when they want me to. And as they get older, it's less and less. They're playing more and more with the kids at the playground, less and less with mom. But yes, trying to, choosing movement when I can.
That's one thing I've noticed because I'm outside pretty much every day. And I've noticed that a lot of times I'll see the kids running around and playing, and what are the parents doing? Well, you got a line of them sitting on a bench, like texting and stuff. Yeah. It's like, you got this perfect opportunity to exercise, and you say you don't have time. Here's the time. I mean, what are you really doing on your phone that's so important?
Yep.
But so I like that you get out and exercise, like move around, get some movement with them. And I think people need to take that more seriously. With some of the conventional thinking and the culture and the way some people, like some kind of habits of mind people fall into without thinking about it. A lot of people think exercise is just in the gym and everything else is like nothing. But, you know, as you notice, there's, you got to think more broadly about movement, and there's a lot more that occurs in everyday life. And so these people could get a lot done and show their kids that they move around too. And then maybe the kids would want to play with them more if they'd, instead of sitting down using their cell phone, if they'd move around. You know? Like, so it's nice seeing some parents in some parks, like a kid climbs up on this, like, onto this, like, 10-foot high structure, this big, long, like, slide and stuff. And sometimes I see, like, parents go up there with the kid, and not just to helicopter parent and protect, but just to, it looks more like they're going along together.
Yeah.
And that's good to see. They're both doing this stuff. But I think that's something folks out there could do to get a lot more movement in their lives. And if they think, you know, then people could, it'd help if we realize that there's more to movement and health and having a strong, flexible, capable body, human organism, than you get just in the gym. I mean, even if you want to work on your cell phone a little bit, like instead of sitting on the bench and slumping, what about like holding a squat position for as long as you can, like 5 seconds if that's it, or 3 minutes, doing a cross sit, sitting in different ways. You know, you can look on MoveNow's website and see the different ways they have to sit. Contact Jessica, and she and Marvin can like give you some movement programming to help out, things you could do when you're at a park with a kid. Or, I mean, this would be good for like some teachers too. Yeah. Because like teachers say, well, when are we ever going to exercise? When do we have time? I'm too busy. Well, you know, when the ones who do recess, like when they're out doing recess, they can, instead of talking to each other, they can talk and move, or incorporate this with some of their kids. It'd be nice if there was more, as there used to be decades ago, more of this in PE classes, recess, doing things like this with kids instead of merely the organized sports. But a lot of ideas there. So people can like contact Jessica and Marvin and fly them to Florida or Alaska for a week and consult on how to improve the school.
I'm all about that.
Yeah. Parent groups. Yeah. But what are some other things you can think of that parents could do at a park, like besides squat, cross sit, stuff like that?
I mean, a lot of our parks, you know, you can walk. There's lots of walking paths. Mm-hmm. You know, I tease some of my clients all the time, like, when was the last time you hung on monkey bars? Mm-hmm. You know, and I hear a lot of people like, I do monkey bars, like with my kids, part of the hot lava game. But you know, like, you don't have to be able to do the monkey bars to really, you know, to even hang. And it's just a position that we don't put ourselves in. We do this a lot, but like to just stretch it out and get that stretch in and work those shoulders a little bit. Yeah. You know, there's that. There's, you know, tossing a ball with your kid. Like that's, you know, isn't that how we grew up, you know, kicking a ball around, tossing the ball around, you know, and join the kids on those games. You know, not that long ago, there was another dad at the park, and, you know, I was playing tag with my kids, and his kid wanted to join, and then he joined, and then it was like 2 adults and 3 kids, and we're just playing freeze tag. You know, I think involving yourself, and something I find is that, you know, kids gravitate towards that. They see grown-ups playing, and they're just like, whoa, that's fascinating. Like, let's go to them. The big kids are real fun. So, You notice it in kids. Kids really respond to adults engaging. And I think that, we have the opportunity to do that more. It's a choice.
Mm-hmm. And then if people are worried about some of the dangers, it's a chance to teach the kids how to identify a danger, how to deal with it, how to identify risks and deal with them, what to think about. Like when you were talking earlier, it reminded me of something I saw on Facebook. Someone had posted like things not to say to your kid, things to say.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say, don't climb that tree, you're going to get hurt. Or like, be careful. Well, of course they're going to be careful. Like, what are you thinking? I mean, it's nice, you're a parent, you love your kids. So I'm not like criticizing there, but like, you want them to be careful. But the way we verbalize it and the concepts and emotions that we want to convey to the kids, we got to be more careful with that. And like the thing said, don't say, be careful. Say, is that branch strong enough? Or how are you going to get up and how are you going to get down? Or
exactly.
Which branch would be better?
Exactly.
Or which rock would it be better to jump on? Which one looks like it's stable and which one looks unstable? Or if you're in a playground, wait, before we start, is there any glass on the ground? Or is it all leaves? What do we have to be careful with and what do we don't? And where can we go? Look, there's people over there. We shouldn't run over there because we could hit them. So it starts to teach them some values and how to think, how to analyze their environment and move through it properly.
Yeah, awareness, critical awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. Like what MoveNet calls mindfulness.
So something sort of related, but a little bit further down the road. Have you thought much, or do you have some thoughts about when your kids are going to be okay you're okay with the kids going off by themselves? Because I grew up, we'd leave the house in the morning and sometimes we'd come back late afternoon for dinner, that type of thing. So we were gone all day. It was a small town in North Dakota, but it's different. It feels like now. I wouldn't probably, if my kids were gone all day by themselves, I'd wonder how they're doing. Yeah. But, in our time, it was just like, oh, they're gone playing, of course. Do you ever think about like, gosh, I can just let my kids go at a point, or have you thought much about that?
Right now I don't live in areas, like I live in a townhome right now, and I don't live in an area where they can necessarily play around. They play outside plenty of times, and I leave my door open, and they know where they can stay in the back of our complex, and they're fine. And so we have yet to kind of live in a neighborhood where they could kind of go down the road to friends' houses like I did growing up. And I think there's a lot of fear out there because there's a lot of, you might not be a helicopter parent, but somebody else may be. And, when is somebody going to call the authorities because your kids are at home alone or playing in the yard alone? So, for me, I was staying home alone with my sister probably when I was about 9. After school, we'd stay inside, but I knew my neighbors. I knew them really well. We'd stay inside until my mom got home. And as soon as my mom got home, we were gone. We were outside. We were at one neighbor's house or another, in the yard, riding up and down the street, being kids. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how I grew up. And, I imagine evaluating my kids individually, are they cognitively ready for, going forward? Is, if they're going together, is the older one looking out for the younger one? Are you actually looking both ways before you cross any streets? Where are we living? All of those factors, I think, play a role in determining that.
Yeah, good points. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because, they're one of our greatest values. So, you feel like you can't protect them too much, but in fact, you kind of can sometimes,
Yes, you can.
Very hard thing to come back from.
Yeah.
And you got to remember to think about the bigger picture and where you're trying to get them. Like, what steps is it going to take for them to be a successful adult, to thrive, yes, be confident and competent in the world?
Yeah.
And is that going to happen if you're making all the decisions for them or bubble wrapping them and preventing them from learning some of that?
Yeah.
A really hard thing I was going to mention that really hard thing for me to do was my older two go to the University of Minnesota for a math course.
How old are they? Melanie, how old are your kids?
My daughter's 14 and my son is 16. And they
Jack.
got admitted into and Jack, he's 11. All three of them are admitted into some level of college math. They're very good at math. But the hardest thing for me was to put them on a city bus and let them go. So there was a lot of me going along at first, checking out the whole route, the bus. I mean, as a parent, if you're thinking at all, you want to know where your child's going to be. What's this route like? How many people are on the bus? What do the people look like on the bus? This kind of thing. But also telling them, be aware of what's around you. Don't just sit there like this. Like you were saying, Michael, somebody preying on kids, boys and girls, is going to look for those who are just totally oblivious. So even just teaching your child that at any age, just be kind of looking at, you don't want to make them paranoid, but you want to make them cognitively aware, like you said, Jessica. But as a parent, I had to, in my own mind, be okay with it, to let them go do that bus route, because I can't go all the time with them.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
And it turns out to be great. It turns out it's mostly direct to the university, so it's pretty okay. But you just, got to just be okay with it.
And that might partly us too, because like when you were growing up, Melanie, did you learn really how to analyze your environment or judge people? So then, since it's something we don't know, then we'd be scared of it. And then we'd pass it on to our kids. So it's probably like that. But then,
and because, go ahead, sorry.
And we should make it a point to be explicit. Like, okay, we need to be aware of our environment. Don't be paranoid. People are generally good. We don't want to have you grow up to be like that. Not everyone's bad, but make sure you're aware. And you can teach them good thinking skills. And, bring it up like that. Like teachers, students. Okay, we're going to learn how to read people, or to be able to, even you don't even have to say we're going to learn how to identify somebody instead of something happens, just like some people do. Start asking how many people had a red hat on the way there, how many people had brown shoes on the way back, and they're learning just through fun and games how to be observant. And then, if God forbid, hopefully not, something happens where they need those skills. Bam, they got them. But it's through learning to be more like having more of a Montessori kind of thing, where they're just learning to be observant, use their words, put words to their observations, describe things. Okay, how many people hit a red hat? But okay, good. Now they learn, okay, after a while, they got the red hats. Okay, describe the hats. How are they different? How are they the same? How many people looked happy? How many people looked sad? And there's a book, What Every Body is Saying by Joe Navarro, we can list in the show notes, that I think is really good about how to read people. And then there's another one some lady wrote. I don't remember the name of that, but I'll have to dig that up. It's in my Audible and maybe post that too. But there's different things you can learn. So go on a bus ride with them. Start paying attention to what everything looks like and who's doing what, and you're just playing a game, doing questions, and you ask them all this stuff. They know their route, they know people, they start to see what's normal, and you can start to see what was different today. So they start to look for what's normal and what's different. And then, that's going to be so helpful, like later in life, at work, choosing a job, which boss you liked, picking up on little details that you can't even put into words because it's just so ingrained in the way you operate about how a boss might be. And I have a bad feeling about him. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I don't like him. And eventually you could sit down and list everything. But at first it's I don't know, but I don't like the guy and I'm not working for him, But
it's protective, but not in a sort of overly protective way. It's just making them use their mind, to know their environment. Yeah. And like we were talking about the confidence factor of even being able to just move in your environment, let alone being able to assess and sort of critique or judge what's going on around you. I think that's very cool.
But I'm sure she knows that. She's like a neuroscientist, fitness expert. She's like,
we're just
Superwoman.
Anything. No, I'm just kidding. I have to ask you though, Jessica, what's in your life that's changed? I know you've had kids and that's a huge thing and you've gotten your degrees, but how about physically? How do you feel now that you've got such a handle on movement and understanding? Like, how's your day different, or how's your life feeling different? Does it feel different? A lot of questions.
Like, I feel like after, when I started getting to move now after running, like, I just approached everyday life differently. I remember the little things that would pop up, like, oh, I can do this on my own. I remember once Marvin was out of town for something, and I spilt detergent underneath my washing machine, and I was like, oh, that's going to be gross. Like, I've got to do something about this, but it's a washing machine. And I got into a deep squat. I lifted it. I like held it long enough to be able to shove a towel and then like move a towel. And later I was like, I just deadlifted a washing machine. I mean, sweet. Not the whole thing, the fun of it, but still it was like, like the things that you think that you're not capable of. We're so much stronger than we give ourselves credit for. But I knew the safe position to put my body into. I knew it. I know my limits too. I knew that if I got down there and it didn't budge, I was done. That's okay. Like, I'll ask for help. But I find things like that, but also even when I go periods of time with momming and doing the business and not getting as much physical activity, or getting a cold in the summer or whatever, and feeling like, oh, I haven't been active, and I'll go and train a client, and I was like, but I can still move my body. Like, there's I might not be able to run a half marathon right now, but once you relearn the way that you can move your body and have that awareness again and reconnect with yourself and your ability to move your body, like, it opens a lot of doors. I definitely feel more capable. I'm very confident when I take my kids to the park or, on trails or whatever. I feel like if I can't handle it, I at least am aware enough to figure out how to handle it, or how to ask someone else to help, me do whatever I need to do. So, in a lot of ways, I feel like it really just gave me the ability to connect back with my own body, and believe in my own strengths.
There's that holistic thing again.
Yeah.
Feedback. And then, sorry, folks, for telling you the story again. Jessica, might be new to you, but kind of what you were saying reminded me. I'll say it like kind of more quickly this time than maybe in the past episodes, in case people have listened. But, like, you think about Isaac Newton, and he was a scientist, and okay, he's just a nerd. He's a bookworm. He's so smart. He's thin and frail. Just Mr. Isaac Newton. Well, when he was in school, he was in his, maybe, I don't know if it was what the deal, in his grade, maybe there were like 5 organizations based on, intelligence level or whatever, and he was in the second to the bottom student or something like that. And he used to get picked on. And one day he got tired of it, and there was some big kid that maybe twisted his arm or kicked him in the butt or something, and he was just sick of it, and he finally fought back, and this kid who was bigger than him, Isaac, like, got his head and shoved it up against a church school wall, maybe hit the kid or something, and, like, fought back, and the kid never picked on him again. But after that, he started being more competitive. So this little thing, just like you seen Back to the Future, right?
Yeah.
Bam, you hit Biff, and everything's different. So it was like that. So Isaac was like Back to the Future before Back to the Future was like popular. And then he started being more competitive, doing better in school. So, it's like this feedback thing. Like the physicality and physical prowess helped him see what he could do cognitively. Otherwise, what would our society be like if he hadn't gotten into a fight?
Exactly.
But, I mean, okay, I'm not recommending everyone go out and get in fights, but, just the exercise physical prowess thing and defend yourself, right? Being able to defend yourself. Having things feedback like that. Looking at the holistic thing. Having that physical competence, so you're competent in the world and you can do things, you can be active, you can know things in the world.
Yeah.
But,
again, kind of a little side thing here, but do you have any recommendations for, like, let's say one of the spouses is into physical activity and they see in their spouse that there's just not that interest, but they really want to try to help them kind of get started at least, or give them encouragement, and maybe they're not taking it quite right because, it's from your spouse. It's a little different. But I was just curious, do you have any recommendations for couples that one really is interested and they want to get the other one more involved with them?
Couples therapy. I say that and we laugh, but I will say this from a lot of experience. We can't change or encourage our family. Like, our family is the last place that's ever going to pay attention to what we're doing. That might help them, right? And so, letting go and continue being the example, and hope that by example that they will join you. But on the really basic level, we gotta each find our own path. And so that's kind of one of those things that I can appreciate and understand, the desire for us to want our loved ones to be healthy and well balanced and love the things that we do. But at the end of the day, I think what that will eventually turn into is just kind of that feeling of nagging. Having that spouse like, yeah, it's just not me. It's not my thing. And so, it's kind of, I hear this, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And it's kind of, if they're happy and content with what it is. But at the same time, I have encountered family members and even friends like that will complain like, oh, like I can't do this, I can't do that. And so I'll gently say, well, you could, if you wanted to, and maybe even give them an idea of that. But I shy away from the, why don't, other than inviting like, hey, would you want to do this together? So something might be like, can you find something active and go on an active date? Like, I think a lot of people are like movies and dinner. What if you said, hey, I really want to try climbing, and in Athens, there's active climbing, this climbing studio. And you could go and like rock climb and say, hey, how about we try that for a change? Or, hey, there's this place that you can, do archery. Would you want to do archery for 2 hours for a date? Or, hey, we can go rent a kayak for $5 for a couple of hours. Let's go do that. Like, there's ways to incorporate it without it being like, hey, go get a gym membership. Or let's all go on Weight Watchers or something. I think it's more including people, asking them to join you on your adventures. That might be the better approach.
Go for a walk in a park.
Yeah, I love going for walks. And so, for me, like that, choosing to do something active versus like, you're not really connecting over a movie. You're just sitting in a movie theater.
Yeah.
I can do that on a couch, it's
alone.
So yeah. I'd much rather be connecting with, someone in a more active way. Yeah. And from a neuroscience standpoint, like you're getting a lot more connection that way anyway. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the endorphins are going, and you just feel better about life and the person that you're doing it with. There's a paddle boat lake in one of the areas out here. When you mentioned the kayaking, for some people that might be kind of scary, but paddle boat even might be they need. It's just to sit next to each other and do a little kind of a fun, relaxing time workout. Your legs
it might also be a test of your relationship, but I mean, let's you get stuck out there. What if you get fatigued? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, you want your spotter to stay your spotter, so you want to stay there. But that's been awesome, Jessica.
Cool. Melanie, did you need to stop around 2:30, Melanie?
We're gonna have to.
Got to go back to your momming.
Always something. Yeah. It's good though. It's all good stuff. My daughter's in a ballet intensive camp for 2 weeks, so she's doing 8 hours of ballet a day for 2 weeks, and by the end, her toes are black. Some of them. She's on point that much. Yeah, I know, but she likes it. She's doing great. So
little masochist.
Yeah. Swimming lessons, just kind of the summer stuff in this case.
Yeah.
So, it's been so great talking to you, Jessica. Just so many nuggets and great points and insight. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, we didn't get to all our questions. It's like having a conversation with somebody who just is really interesting, and it's just great. But So
yeah. So, any last words, Melanie?
no, I'll give them over to Jessica. Let's hear
Jessica,
if she has any.
Any last words for the folks? Summary, review, new insights.
I guess if I were to leave with some last words, it's, you are only as strong and capable as you believe yourself to be. So, choose to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
True. And try to move more, help your kids. You can deadlift that washer. Have confidence in yourself. Yeah. So cool. So yeah, a lot of good information there. And yeah, one thing I thought we were talking about maybe what parents could do in a park, things they could say, or when they're riding on a bus. But then it occurred to me, of course, that like PE teachers and teachers could do some of the same thing with their students. You're out at a playground somewhere. Okay, what's going on? Like, is there any glass? What's around us? They could, especially if they're in some place like some school around here, elementary school, it's got some woods. Some places it wouldn't really matter as much because it's just a little plastic playground. But as culture advances and we get elementary schools back to being around woods, then more of this can come up. But they can still do, like, in recess for elementary school, maybe how many white cars went by as we were playing, or everybody, like, what was the lady wearing that walked by as we were out exercising, and stuff like that. They can still ask questions like that. What kind of hat was the guy wearing? What were his shoes like? So, teachers and PE teachers can still do some of the same stuff. It have the same benefit. But cool. So yeah, a lot of good information there. And it's a good thing Melanie's got to go. Otherwise, it might be data overload. So even though it's a meal, not merely a little bite, but a lot of information there to digest and think about. Because as I say, I think people have some, just because, I used to too. It's not like I'm a genius or any of us here are geniuses and we've known this since we were born. It took a lot of effort to figure out, learning from other people about the things we talked about, the holistic aspect, the connection thing, then a lot of life lessons here. And one thing we want to do is try to help people not have to, like, fall on their face and get a bloody nose as much as we did. Scraped up me, scraped up elbows, bloody noses, all this stuff we would have learned. But it'll still happen, but hopefully not as much. But think about the holistic nature of humans that we were talking about and apply that in your own life and parenting and education. And then, get in contact with any of us three or all three of us and then Marvin too. Sorry, all four. Marvin, yeah. All four of us. Consulting, whatever. But as I say, it was good to talk to Jessica for the whole package there. We haven't gotten into everything about the neuroscience and fitness and connection and the whole holism concept. We could talk about what does holistic mean and how's the neuroscience relevant and all that. But as I say, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Better stop before our mind explodes. But cool. So, folks, hope you enjoyed that. And as we say, if you like this, find it valuable, please share it with, like, family, friends, other people who are parents, teachers, school administrators, just any adult who's wants to make their own life better and help other people and think more about what's going on. And then, share it, like the show, please, and give some rational reviews. If you donate, then maybe we can do, like, better quality sound and stuff and buy a better microphone, because I'm not Bill Gates. Melanie, are you Bill Gates?
And I'm not Melinda Gates.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you're not Melanie Gates or Melinda Gates. Yeah, right. So
my sister's Melinda, though.
not Gates. Yeah.
Okay.
But cool.
Thanks again, Jessica.
So yeah.
Thank you.
So thanks,
Have a
folks.
Have a great few days till we talk to you hopefully again. That'll be great.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Awesome.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.